Welcome everyone. This is going to be a great stream tonight. And before we get started, some of you guys are so awesome. We want to thank Paul and Joan for your super chats. Before we even got started, thank you so much. Joan also became a member of my channel, but we're out on multiple channels tonight, and we've got Coop and Georgie here, who I normally stream with, and a very special guest, Jeremy Hales from What the Hales. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk with us today. Now before we get started, I want everyone to chat in the chat to know we're not talking about any of the court cases or any of the drama. We're sticking to only business questions this evening. So we're going to try to find out how to make money.
Well, and this is unique perspective too. And I'm 47 now, and growing up in a Christian home, in church, I learned that there were certain topics that were never talked about in American families. And so money, which is horrible, that is like number one we should be talking about. Sex, which we should be teaching appropriateness in regards to that. And usually religion. And so I don't shy away from any three of those conversations in an appropriate setting with an appropriate audience. And God created all of them. And so you may find it unique to know that one of the topics that Jesus actually talked about the most in the Bible was money, financial stewardship. And so this is something we should be talking about. And most people are accustomed to me making dad jokes and goofing around, and literally a 10-year-old in a 47-year-old body. But I do passionately love business and financial stewardship. And I love teaching it. And I love living it and sharing with others. So this will be a fun night for me. Even if it's not for you, it may bore everybody else, but it'll be a fun night for me.
Well, I know I'm very interested because having been a military member for most of my adult life, the military doesn't teach you how to make money. They just teach you how to be a good little worker drone and do what the government tells you. So then when I actually started a business and started learning this stuff, I felt completely lost. And I've learned quite a bit in the last 4 years, but I'm looking to learn a lot more.
Well, and I think you just hit the nail on the head on something. So you said you were never taught. Okay, you were taught answers to the questions that they wanted you to know the answers to. And I want to be very clear. I'm going to offend some people here tonight. I'm going to say some very bold things, and it's going to hit hard. And they're going to people be like, Jeremy's a jerk. Listen, if you can't own it and change it, then the issue isn't Jeremy, it's you. And for example, I'm going to say something very bold. Our educational system fails us. So our educational system tells us this is the answer you want for this question, but they're just giving you answers to the questions instead of teaching you how to critically think, how to solve problems, how to be a problem solver, which is the greatest asset that you can offer an employer in today's business. I will hire a problem solver before I will ever hire somebody that keeps coming to me to solve their problems. And so there are going to be some offensive things that people aren't going to agree with. That's great. Change your life and maybe you will agree with me after that. So our educational system completely, totally fails us in regards to business. And so I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I have an undergrad. I did 4 years of college in 2 years with two majors. So Bible theology and administration. Then I went on to get my master's in organizational leadership, and I did that in 2 years. Okay. And I was an adjunct professor at the master's level. And I would tell every single one of my students, you do not need college. There are a million ways to make $1 million in today's world. I'm not downplaying college and higher education. I'm just saying higher education needs to teach us to solve problems and to critically think, not just fill in bubbles.
I couldn't agree more.
Exactly. Well, same here, blue collar worker my whole life. And when I retired, I'm looking at other stuff. I've got my business, but I want to do something different. So that's why I'm here with you tonight. I want to learn. I'm not shy about taking criticism. So you give it, we take it.
And I
I
also
could
want
not agree more about the
Georgie, you got anything to
system.
say there?
You're absolutely correct about the education system. It has failed so many of us, not just in the money part of it, but real life stuff as well.
And I do want everyone in the chat, if you have questions, put them in. We'll try to get to all of your questions as well. In fact, I'll go ahead and start us off with the first question. Do you think most people should have at least a home-based business?
I think that people need to find their starting place, need to set goals, and make incremental progress towards those goals. Now, I can share with me personally in my life. I was engaged at 19, married at 20. Okay. I bought my first home at 20. I put 10% down, first home buyer's loan. And as such, I mean, this is like unheard of in today's world, right? A 20-year-old buying a home, his first home. And my dad had to co-sign for me. Banks wouldn't touch me. They went, this is a 20-year-old, even though I had the down payment. So while I was working for others, I was not fun employed at that time. I did have a resale home business. And so the opportunities that exist today for people, I mean, the internet has revolutionized, if not completely shifted the paradigm of business and how to become a multimillionaire on its axis. And so I think the better question is, why would you not have a home-based business? Not should I, why would you not? With the opportunity, we all have the same opportunities. It's who's going to get up and actually do something and be a person of action and not just talk. And that's what I find makes a tremendous difference between people with little or people of affluency. There are a lot of people that just dream and they go, one day I'm going to have that condo on the beach. One day I'm going to have that. One day I'm going to be a multimillionaire. But there are other people that go, one day I'm going to, and then they put it into action and they actually do it. And that's the difference. That's the difference between affluent people and not affluent people. Affluent people are people of action. They get up, they do it every day. It doesn't matter how they feel. It doesn't matter how hard it is. It doesn't matter who's saying what about them. It does not matter. They do the work. That's the difference.
I definitely can understand that, having started a business and a nonprofit both at the same time. I don't recommend doing that. It's a lot of work, both of them. I starting off was the hardest thing for me. Once I did, I never looked back.
And let me share this with you guys as well. I've done a lot of study. I used to be a full-time fundraiser as well, working in the nonprofit sector. And actually, the specialty of all of my education is in the nonprofit religious sector. Okay. And so I can tell you very clearly that we have a major misconception of who the millionaires are in our current culture in the United States. So if I were to ask you guys right now, what profession do you think are millionaires? I mean, just off the top of your head, what do you think? Who are the millionaires in our world today?
Lawyers, doctors,
Politicians.
Mr. Coop?
Politicians.
Okay, Georgie?
Politicians.
Politicians.
Okay. So vast majority, just like the skipper just said, lawyers and doctors, vast majority of those in our culture today that think that doctors and lawyers are multimillionaires. Now, this is the reality in our culture. Doctors and lawyers don't have the most wealth. They hold the most, now understand this, they hold the most debt. In other words, they live outside of their means for prestige, for the next material thing that makes them feel like they've arrived. Now, the multimillionaires, doctors and lawyers carry more debt than any other profession in the United States. The multimillionaires are small family businesses. It's the guy who wears a gray tattered hoodie wherever he goes. And you would go, this guy wears the same clothes every day. Like, does he not own another set of clothes? Or it's the guy in the overalls who comes out of his field on his tractor and he gets up before the sun comes up and he goes to bed after the sun goes down. So we have to understand that doctors and lawyers are not the multimillionaires that we think they are in our culture. They hold the most debt, not income. The income and the wealth is held by the small family business owners.
Makes a lot of sense. Coop, do you have a question?
Yep. That's what do what now? Well, that's what I did. I worked for a mom and pop grocery store all my life, cutting meat. And the man that owned the grocery store, he was awesome. I mean, he taught me my profession, but he taught me about his business. Knowing you came from a grocery store atmosphere, I can tell you now that is not an easy job. It is a lot of levels in that, but he was one of the wealthy community because he used his head. He didn't do the stupid stuff. He used his head, he invested, and he was a very smart man. And that part of the state in Missouri was an easy state to be in business in the night, okay, because there was no internet back then. That's how technology now is way better than it was when I was younger. But that's one of the reasons why we wanted to talk to you is youth that we can take on and introduce into our lives to change it. That's all I had to say. Sorry.
And the reality, that's why I started YouTube. It was, and you can still see it in my YouTube description. It was to encourage, equip, and educate with helping people not accumulate wealth for others, but accumulate wealth for themselves. And there are many people who point a finger at me and go, Jeremy only cares about money. Okay. Of course I care about money. Now you have to ask the question though, what is your why? Why do I care about money? Okay. So let's look a little bit. I think most viewers know my heart. Okay. I love helping people.
Yeah.
And so my why of why I want to accumulate wealth is to give towards those things that I believe in. I think in the past years, you guys have seen my very first job was a speedboat driver on Lake Erie on Kelly's Island at Camp Patmos at 16. Who was dumb enough to put 150 horsepower behind me as a 16-year-old? I didn't even have a driver's license for a car. And then years later, I get to go with $150,000, 2 brand new ski nautique boats and go, here you go for the kids. Or you've seen what we've done in Egypt for the orphans, or you've seen what we've done in Levy County for those for Christmas in the Creek, or we could keep going. We could keep going and going. And it's not to brag. It's not to be arrogant. It's to answer the question, why do you want to accumulate wealth? And for me, it truly is to do ministry work and to help people and point them towards the direction of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And so that's my why. And other person's why may be, I just want to be rich. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. And don't let other people misquote the Bible and go, well, the love of money is well, they'll tell you money is the root of all evil. Wrong. The love of money is the root of all evil. We must have money. Jesus says, render unto Caesar's what's Caesar's. And so we must have money in our society. Now, if your first love is money above your family, if your first love is money above your God and your Savior and your Lord, you've got an issue. You've got to ask the question, why though? And it may just be you want to accumulate wealth. You want to better your life. There's nothing wrong with that. But my reason and rationale is because of my personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And I love giving towards ministry. I'm very ministry oriented and I'm very ministry minded. And that's why I like to accumulate and attempt to accumulate wealth to give back. And in my mind, it's all God's anyway. He's just entrusted me to be a steward of what he's given me, and I'm just giving it back to him to let him do what he wants to do with it.
There you go.
Now, I did remove the chat overlay because we had a couple knuckleheads coming in and trying to talk about the drama in the cases. And we're not talking about that. We're only talking about business. Georgie, do you have a question?
I liked that you brought up where people are always talking about the money as the root of all evil. I grew up in a Southern Baptist church, and that was burned into my brain that if I had money, it was leading me to the devil. So I'm glad you brought that up.
And I think we can again go back and read that. It's the love of money. It's putting money as an idol over your family, over your Lord and Savior. You know, money, we must have it. We must have it. And we can do great things with it. It's just like anything else in life. God's gifted us, I mentioned at the beginning, I was like, man, most people won't talk about money. They won't talk about sex. They won't talk, God gave us money. God gave us sex. He gave it to us appropriately to use it, but we can abuse it and it can be inappropriate as well, right? And so when we're abusing money, then that's not okay. And so we've got to use it appropriately. And there's nothing wrong with being affluent. We could even say being a multimillionaire. We could say just being a millionaire, or just saying, hey, I got enough money to pay my bills. There's nothing wrong with that.
We do have a question from the chat from Robert Rolas. Question for Jeremy: how to find an investor while protecting your idea?
So that's an area where, that's a big question. That's a big question. I suppose that's going to differ for everybody. So if you've got an idea that works and you need an investor, maybe your idea isn't ready yet. Maybe you put that on the back burner and you accumulate wealth. And maybe we talk about how do you accumulate wealth to where you are your investor. And so here's what I would say, Robert. Okay. This is just me. I wouldn't look for an investor. Okay. I've seen too many things happen in business where partners, they go in so happy, they go in like this, and then at the end, it's just nonstop. It's in court. They can't get along. They don't, I have found, I don't like boards. Even though in full-time ministry, I had a full-time board, I don't like boards. I don't like committees. Because what happens, remember I said at the beginning, the difference between the person that says, well, I'm going to do it, but there's the other person that actually does it. You're a person of action. So I don't like boards and committees. And I don't like group projects. And I don't like, I'm not comfortable with these things because I'm so passionate to move it forward and get it off the ground and go. So Robert, here's what I would say. Why don't you focus on accumulating wealth so that you are your investor? And I realize that probably 95%, these are, I haven't looked at the most current statistics. 95% of the average households in the United States currently, if they live paycheck to paycheck. And to me, I can't wrap my head around that. I literally can't wrap my head around that. So let me say this, and this is where people are going to be offended, okay? We do not, and I'm going to say this so boldly and so plainly, we do not have an income issue in the United States. We are the richest, if not one of the richest in accumulated wealth. And do some traveling, man. I have seen things in this world. Right. We have so much wealth. We do not have an income problem. It's not that you're not making enough money. You have an expense problem. You need to control your expenses. And if you want to be wealthy, that means sacrifice. And let me give you an example, okay? This may sound so silly. I'm 19. I'm 47 today, but this is foundational for where I am today, okay? I'm a 19-year-old. I'm getting married. I put 10% down on my first home, which I actually still own to this day. That initial rental property, which it is a rental property now, has made me over $250,000 since I've since I've actually owned it. That's not a bad investment, right? Okay, but how did I do that? I paid that home off in 3 years. Okay, so how did I do that when the American families are living paycheck to paycheck? You want to know how ridiculous I was? How I sacrificed? I had candles that were gifted to me for my wedding. I had candles from garage sales. Instead of turning the electric on, I burned candles. Do you know what that is? That's sacrifice.
Mhm.
You know what I didn't do? I did not go out to restaurants. You know what I did? I ate macaroni and cheese. And by the way, I love macaroni and cheese, okay? But you realize when you're trying to accumulate wealth, you see what I'm saying here? It's not an income problem. It wasn't I didn't have enough income. I had to reel the expenses back. And what I did is took that sacrifice for that 3 years. I then took that money and I paid off that home. And then I used the equity in that home. So I sacrificed. I burned candles instead of turning the electric on. I ate macaroni and cheese instead of going to restaurants. I did so many silly things to pay that house off. Now I had capital. I had something that I could actually borrow against. And guess what I did? I took that capital. Guess who was my investor at that point? I was, Robert. I was. So because I sacrificed, and because income wasn't an issue, expenses are the issue that we have in our lives. I brought all my expenses down. Guess what I didn't have? I didn't have cable. No cable. Nope. I didn't even have a cell phone at that point, even though they were still out there. I didn't have subscriptions to anything. Every penny went to paying the house off. And then I had capital to then purchase another one. And guess what that did? Made me more money. So, Robert, what I would say is be your own investor. And maybe you need to step back and go, hey, how do I decrease my expenses and then increase my income? And that may be a process. It may be a year in process. It may be as silly as I burn candles at night instead of turning the electric on to keep the electric costs down. But that initial sacrifice, remember, that was foundational. One of the smartest things I ever did in my life, okay? And when we're talking about my experiences, and everybody's are different, one of the smartest things I ever did in my life was buy that house at 19, pay it off in 3 years, and use the equity to buy another one, and then use the equity to buy another one, and use the equity to buy another one. The smartest thing I ever did. Smartest thing I ever did. I sacrificed so that I could then generate more income in my future. And so that's what I think I would say to Robert is, I'd be very, very hesitant in regards to looking at an investor. I would build my own wealth and invest in myself. But that's just me.
We have another question came in from Miss Yoda. What advice can you give to someone starting a business that aims to teach the disabled adults and children, but also to keep the funding flow in?
So you're asking for advice, and I don't know anything about the business. So it's very, very hard for me to give any advice about a business without seeing any numbers, without seeing any information, except knowing it's for, what was just described. My biggest thing would be, without any knowledge whatsoever, is harness the power of the internet. I mean, the internet has. Let me go back even further. Okay, I want to emphasize this point. I love talking about this stuff, by the way, and I know this is so unusual, probably for most of the people out there, because they're like, Jeremy's always joking. 99% of the time, I am joking. If you get me talking about business and income and wealth, I'm very, very serious. I'm very passionate about financial stewardship in our lives. Okay, so. Coop mentioned that he was in the grocery store as well. And many people know my story that I grew up in a family grocery store. And frankly, I learned through a lot of failure in regards to that. And I learned through a lot of success in regards to that. Now, that was a third generation grocery store that ultimately failed. And that store is gone now. It's been leveled. And I saw my parents and my family not adjust with current culture, adjust with current means to generate income, and ultimately a Walmart coming in and going, okay, little guy is gone. You know, we have Uber Eats now. You know what my parents were doing before Uber Eats? My parents were delivering groceries to the widows all over the town for free. Now, Uber Eats comes along and now it's a multi-million-dollar business, but my parents were doing this for free beforehand. They didn't harness the internet or community. So it used to be, man, there's just going to be a transaction. You know, there's two ways to make money. Okay. So maybe this helps answer the question. There's two ways to make money. You offer a service. Okay. That service could be, I'm going to teach you something. That service can be, I'm going to clean. For example, I'm at the condo right now. I've been trying to get at the condo all week to work on it, and I'm finally there. So I have a housekeeper. So Charlene offers me a service and she gets paid for that. Every time she cleans the condo, doesn't matter which one it is, she gets paid for it. She's offering me a service. It could be consulting. It could be, you name it. You could offer a service or you offer a product. Okay. So let's say I'm selling cell phones. So I'm offering a product. That's two ways to make money. You offer a service, you offer a product. Okay. So my parents, they offered products. It was groceries and a service they would deliver to you. And that was just the exchange. It was just, I offer a service and I offer a product. But the internet has changed to where income is now based on community and relationships. Okay. And I can't emphasize this enough. All right. So the paradigm in business has completely shifted because anybody at any time can say anything about you, positive or negative. And we all know somebody's going to say something negative 10 times more than the one person who says something positive, right? All right. So what I would tell that individual with any business, whether it's for disabled kids, whether is generate a community of followers that are passionate about what you're passionate about. And if you can find that niche, you already have a base for income, for fundraising. I mean, in that particular instance, that sounds like a fundraising extravaganza. Okay. Like, I mean, I would be all over that going, this is so fun. I mean, who doesn't want to help kids? Now, okay, who doesn't want to help disabled kids? Now, you know, now we're educating disabled kids. Like this is, so you've got a service for sure. You're educating disabled kids, but you could get an entire community rallying behind you for that as well. And that's really where business is nowadays. Now we're seeing businesses every day, traditional businesses, Big Lots, Joann Fabrics. I mean, we could keep going down the list, right? Closing, mega giants, closing. Where's the community around them? It's gone. But what are the businesses that are growing? We are on the largest media platform in the world right now because it's about community. Build a community and a community will build your business.
Yep.
This is, I think, a related question. Redneck Mafia says, Jeremy, I make freehand routed wood signs and wood products. Without a website, what's the best way to grow this and get my name out there?
Well, you already know what my answer is going to be, YouTube. So I don't have a website. If you look up what the Hales, while I own the domains, it's nothing I've ever desired to actually put anything into. And so I have no websites. But I mean, I think most people know some of my businesses. So, you know, I'm a landlord. I've been a landlord since the age of 20 and I'm 47 now. And you know, I have a resale business. I'm a licensed auctioneer. I mean, I think most people know for 6 months now, I've been doing Whatnot and having the time of my life on it. But even before that, when I was a teenager, you know, you asked about a home-based business. Guess what that home-based business was? It was eBay. eBay just came out and I was making more money. I was working for BF Goodrich at the time. And I was working a swinging 12. So it'd be 12 hours during the day and then it'd be like 3 days in a row. And then I'd have 3 days off and that'd be 4 12s at night. It was nightmare on my body. And my side home-based business selling video games on eBay was making more money than me working at BF Goodrich. And I went, why am I working for BF Goodrich? So that home-based business can explode. And so for me, it was eBay all the way back when I was in my young 20s. Now you see me doing things on YouTube to the point of I've always wanted B&Bs. And even when I bought the property in Levy County, which again, we're not going to dig into that, but I think everybody knows I was very clear. My dream was to have B&Bs for followers and fans, and now know that that's not safe. But to know that Cedar Key is a complete and total place of beauty, it's a beautiful community with beautiful people, and it's a safe environment. You see, I don't have a website, but I'm building another business, and I'm borrowing from myself. Okay, so we asked about investors. What I did, and I'll share a couple key points on that as well. But what I did is I borrowed money from myself to build a business for fans and followers, YouTube. Now, it's not easy. It's a lot of hard work, Frankly, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of tears, a lot of frustration, a lot of joy. But this business where I'm sitting right now is born out of YouTube, a platform for a community to gather together. And there is a very loving community. So in regards to actually funding myself, here's, this is going to be offensive to some people, and I get that. Okay. You know what affluent people do? And I hope everybody understands when I say affluent. Affluent means rich. Okay. It's a more polite way to say rich. And by all means, I'm not rich. As a matter of fact, really, if we were to get down to legalities, there's very little in my name whatsoever. I'm very rich in my life experiences, and I'm very rich with loving people surrounding me. And but affluent people don't use their own money; they use other people's money. So let me explain this, okay? In the most easiest way possible. And there are habits of millionaires. There are things millionaires do. And you guys hear me say this all the time. You want to be a multimillionaire, hang out with 4 other multimillionaires. You want to be homeless, go hang out with 4 homeless people. For me, I want to rise above. I don't want to be drugged down. So I always want people around me that are going to raise me up, not drag me down. And I want to raise them up too. High tide brings everybody up. So here's what multimillionaires do. They use other people's money to make money. And now, right now, you guys are thinking, what? Okay, so let me share how they do this. And I'm going to share this in one of the ways that I do this, okay? I think most people know Christian and Patience. I love them dearly. And people right now are going, why didn't they have a whatnot auction tonight? They did. I gave them, I'm going to give you an exclusive here on Veteran Nation, okay? I'm going to give you an exclusive. Patience was in the hospital yesterday. She cannot keep anything down. And the reason she can't is because of morning sickness. She is pregnant again. And so she has given me permission to share this, even though it's not been publicly shared anywhere yet. It is now being shared right here. And so with her struggle, I told her tonight, I was like, hey, just don't even do an auction tonight. Just rest. I want you to rest. It's more important. The baby is more important. So now we have baby Pepper. Now I'm not, I told her, I was like, I want to throw the name out of baby Salt. And so I'm going to start calling the new baby Salt. Okay.
I was fixing to say
so where I met Christian and Patience, I have a quad apartment. Okay. So it's not a duplex. It's a quad apartment. There's four apartments. So what I did is I bought this house, and did I pay cash for it, or did I use somebody else's money? Everybody, take a guess based on what I already said. Skipper, did I pay cash or use somebody else's money?
I'm guessing you used someone else's money.
All right, Mr. Coop, what'd I do?
Same thing, same answer.
All right, Georgie, what'd I do? Okay.
Cash?
So what affluent people do is use other people's money to make money. So I went to the bank and I looked at the P&L and I went, this much money comes out of rent every year. So let's just say, let's use a crazy number. We'll just use a number. Let's say I bought it for 100,000. I actually paid more than that, but let's say I bought it for 100,000, right? So I go to the bank and they say, okay, well, we need this percentage down. I went, great. And then they go, we're going to let you borrow all of this money. I went, Great. So I borrowed other people's money. Now my mortgage every month, I don't remember exactly because now I own it outright, but my mortgage every month was like $1,200, right? Well, my rent income every month was $3,500. I don't even remember what it was right now. But so do you understand what an affluent person does? An affluent person goes, you know what? I want that cash in my pocket in case there's another investment opportunity. So I'm going to go borrow somebody else's money to make money. So what I did is I went to the bank and I borrowed somebody else's money. I don't even know whose money it was. I borrowed their money with the lowest interest rates. I still got all of the rent. That's called passive income. I had to do nothing, literally nothing. The tenants were already there. I collected the rent. They said, you owe me $1,200 a month for borrowing other people's money. I went, great, here's your $1,200. But I made $3,500 a month. So if we're doing the math, how much money did I put in my pocket and make by borrowing other people's money?
There you go. There you go.
Okay. Makes sense? Okay. So affluent people use other people's money to make money. And particularly real estate is one of the greatest ways to do that. And here's the best part. Here's the best part. Okay. If I wanted to borrow, you're going to hear people talking about the stock market and this, that, and there's plenty of people that invest in the stock market, and there's some who would do well and there's some that'll lose. All right. So if I were to go into the bank and say, hey, I want to borrow $100,000 and I'm going to invest it in the stock market, what's the bank going to say to you?
Yeah.
Absolutely
See ya.
Yeah, they're going to laugh at you. They're going to go, no way. But wait, hold a second. But Mr. Banker, I want to borrow $100,000 to invest in the stock in your bank. I want to invest in your bank. What's the banker going to say to you?
Still gonna say no.
There's the door. No way. But if you go in and say, I want to borrow $100,000 to buy a piece of real estate, what's the bank going to go? Here's the money. And then the government's going to give you the best tax breaks around and depreciation. You can't beat investing in real estate. It is the greatest investment you can make. It will beat out the stock market hand over fist over and over again. Now, I'm not saying that the stock market is bad, and I'm not saying it's good. There are people who overnight became multimillionaires and even billionaires with cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. That is a very, very rare experience. Very rare, and especially in the stock market. In the stock market, if you make a 10% profit margin, 10%. If I invest $100 in the stock market and I make $110 in that year, that's called a huge success. And in my world, that's horrible. Because I can go buy a storage unit and I can pay $1,000 for it and I can flip it for $50,000. Do you understand the profit margin that exists with resale and real estate versus the stock market? It blows the stock market out of the water. Out of the water. 10% is considered a phenomenal year. And not only do I beat that with resale and rental properties, you can't even come close. You can't even come close to the profit margin for what I invest and with the return I get on that investment.
That's one of the questions I had for you with the whatnot. I know with you being from Ohio, you have to have an auctioneer's license, right?
Yeah.
Now, I've read over the whatnot stuff a little bit, and I'm kind of unclear when it comes to Florida. Are we down here made to get
You don't need a
license
license
as well? I didn't think
Nope,
so.
you don't need a
I
license.
did not think so. All right.
Nope.
That's
you can
the
sell
main
on whatnot.
question I had.
That's fine. It is only the state of Ohio. It is a law that was brought into the state of Ohio by a licensed auctioneer. And now that licensed auctioneer, who was a House representative, he got arrested for domestic violence. He's not even, he brought in this law and upset a lot of people. But in the state of Florida, you don't need any license whatsoever. What you do need to do, Mr. Coop, and I mentioned this earlier, if you're going to be successful on Whatnot or any other platform, you have to build community.
Right.
Community. Okay.
Just like YouTube, you got to build your audience.
Same thing. There are people who love me. There are people who love to hate me. The thing you want to do is I say this to everybody. I used to tell this to my students. I used to take my master's degree students every year, and I used to tell them, listen, I want you to create a file, because there are going to be some really, really great days, and there are going to be some really, really hard days. And I said, this file is going to be called Worth It All. I want you to create a file. It's going to be in the end of your files in your file cabinet. It's called Worth It All. And every time somebody writes you a note that says they love you, this was great, you're going to put that in that file. When you have an incredible experience with you're going to put that in that file. And on the hard days, you're going to go in the back of your file cabinet and you're going to pull it out and you're going to go, this is worth it all. And my employees at that time, unbeknownst to me, and I've hired well over 1,000 employees, probably closer to 2,000 in my lifetime. And I've had many more employees working for me than I do actually right now. And so my employees at that time surprised me. They went and got my Worth It All file, and they made the most beautiful scrapbook out of my Worth It All file and presented it to me as a gift. Like, you got to have those moments that carry you through the bad times. And there are bad times being online. Okay. There's horrific times being online, but you have to remember at the end, it's worth it all building this community. And I say that, and I've lived it, even with being on YouTube, to the point where I think I saw Gina was in the chat tonight. I think I saw Gina. I can't see all the chat coming up, but I've gotten to meet so many precious people, Gina and Debbie and Jenny, and I could keep going on. Christine Roman Noodles. Like, these are people that I don't call fans and followers. They're friends now. They're friends, and so that community means something. And I realize that normally when I'm not talking business, I'm just goofing around and I'm fun and I'm joking, and that that's like a magnet that draws people in. It really does. And I get that about my personality. It can be magnetic to draw people in. And that's also, there she is. Yeah, she's such a sweetheart. And so that's also a huge responsibility when you have that personality that can draw people to you. It's a huge responsibility to make sure. I used to teach this to my students, my master level students, and my employees all the time. Hero worship is not okay. There is only one hero. That's our Lord and Savior. So make sure that it doesn't inappropriately go to hero worship, and that it is appropriately community and positive relationships. And so I've been able to, fall in love with some of these people as friends, and because of the community that's been built around it. So there are hard days and there's good days. And so when I see Gina in a chat, so in my mind, I'm not in my file cabinet right now going to the Worth It All, but in my mind, I'm going in my file cabinet in my mind and going, Gina makes it worth it all. Now, Gina's an old lady, even though she's not an old lady, right? She's older than me. She is a ninja master who could outwork me. And I find it funny on the bad days when people go, Jeremy doesn't like old ladies because of things going on in Levy County with stalkers, but we're not going to get into that. And yet I have old ladies around me all the time, and I love it. It's like having moms and grandmas and aunties, and I love it when they're there. And that's the building of the community, which frankly, building community builds business.
Georgie, you got any questions?
I was just going to let you know that Miss Debbie's in the chat too.
Nice. There's so many sweethearts out there.
And you're right. Since I've been on this platform, I'm a baby. All of y'all are older than me. But it's like having the YouTube parents and the grandparents around, and it just keeps me wanting to keep going.
They do. They spur you on. They
pushing.
spur you on to keep going during the tough days. They're the ones that make it worth it all. And you gotta have that in your business, because everything is ebb and flow, right? Everything in life. We have good days, we have bad days, and we have good business, we have bad business, and it grows and it goes up. And so we gotta know what makes it worth it all in the end, which is why I always say you have to answer that question, why? Why do you want to accumulate wealth? Why do you want to do this business? You got to be able to answer that question for you. And for me, I point blank will tell you it's about my relationship with Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. And I want to give towards ministry. But for others, it's different. And that's okay. But just know your why and why you want to do it.
And that's a good segue into this next question from Georgia Ann. How do you break the survivor mentality? I was married at 18, divorced by 26 with 3 little children. I put myself through college and raised them. I still have a survivor mentality.
So you want to get past survive and you want to transition into thrive. Okay. And so there is that survivor mentality, and in business, and I'm gonna answer it in the regards to business. I hope most people understand that 9 out of 10 startups fail. So when you are starting a business, 9 out of 10 fail, and that's okay, because what you're looking for is not number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. You're looking for number 10. Number 10 is the one that's going to hit. And so you have to and with working with money, with working with business, you have to change your mind to change your actions. Okay. And so what I mean by this is, I said some of the things tonight I'm going to say is probably going to be offensive to people. When I say things such as, we don't have an income problem in America, we have an expense problem, I can only imagine how many people's eyes are like, how dare you, Jeremy? I don't make enough money. I need more money from my employer. I need this. Listen, an employee comes to me demanding more money, going, Jeremy, I see how much money you're making. Listen, employees have no idea my expenses. Okay. If I make $1 million and I have $1 million in expenses, and they see I made $1 million, but they don't see my expenses, how much did I actually make in pocket? $1 million of income, $1 million of expenses. How much did I pocket? Zero.
None.
Zero. Okay. And so when an employee comes to me and goes, you're making all this money, and I have had employees do this. Okay. And immediately, that employee is not sold on the vision of what we're trying to accomplish. That employee only cares about, how much am I getting? I want a bigger piece of the pie. I'm making this money. I see people complaining all the time saying, well, I'm the worker for the boss. I'm making all this wealth for them. Okay. And guess who's taking on all the liability? Guess who's paying all the insurance? Guess who's paying for the workers' comp? Guess who is risking every day with his income to try and create more jobs and more work for you? That would be me. And so when they see just a picture and go, well, he's making this much money and I'm only getting this much and I want more, they don't fit my mindset and they don't fit my model of work. Okay. I want people that are not money motivated, that they are actually mission motivated and understand what we're trying to accomplish. So with storage units and reselling and auction items, you'll hear us say all the time, look at this, we just saved these items from the garbage and we get to reunite them with somebody who loved this. We are reuniting memories with people. Do you understand there's a difference between making money and then the mission of reuniting memories with people and somebody who's going to love this thing? And so we're in a mission to reunite memories with people. We're not on a mission to make money. Now it does make money, and then we reinvest that money to make more money so that we can continue to reunite memories with people with all these items that we find. And so you have to change your mind out of the survivor mode, and you have to change your mind about money. And the very first thing you have to change your mind about is, I don't make enough money. No, you're making plenty of money. You have too many expenses. You go, well, I can't pay all my bills. Then decrease your bills. Well, I can't just decrease my bills. Cancel every subscription. If you are living in debt and a credit card, cancel your credit card. Now, I use credit cards, and some people may find this very, very unusual. I have never paid interest on a credit card. My last credit card payment this past month was $57,000 for one of my businesses. Now, I realize there are people that are watching right now that go, I don't even make 57,000 a year. Do you understand 57,000? That was for one business. That was the resale business, what we call, I mean, you know it as what the Hales, it has a whole nother name in regards to the business. I've never paid interest, and nor will I. The credit card is a tool that works for me. If I have to work for the credit card to pay interest, then I'm a fool. It's supposed to be a tool. It works for me. If it's not, I'm a fool working for it. So you have to change your whole mentality of, oh, I've got this much in rent. Then change where you live to live within your means and get your mentality out of that to start building wealth so you can invest in other things. So I think so many people don't have acute financial stewardship. They are not readily educated in finances. And I said this in the beginning, there's things that we don't talk about, and we absolutely should. In school, we're learning cursive. Let me ask you the question. By the way, there's going to be some diehards that are going to be offended right now. When's the last time you used cursive? You shouldn't be learning cursive, okay? Who cares about cursive? That is of the past. We text, we type now. We're on our phones, we type. We should be learning about finances and how to be a steward of our finances, not cursive. And so those who are offended, you love cursive, that's great. You still use it, again, that's great. The world has changed and we need to change with it, meaning we have to change our mind out of survivor mode into thrive mode, which means we need to decrease our expenses, which is ultimately going to increase our income and get us to thriving and not just surviving. We don't want to live paycheck to paycheck. And I'll be the first to admit, I've never lived paycheck to paycheck. I will admit that. I've always had surplus because I don't think like that. I won't think like that. I won't allow myself to get to that point. I would never let my kids get to that point either. So I think it's a very, very high responsibility as parents to teach our children. So some of the things I did as a dad, okay, I got chickens for my kids. And what did chickens lay? Eggs. Now, what do my kids have to do? Sell the eggs. So I was teaching them financial stewardship. Okay, so me and the kids, we put in a garden. All right, we get vegetables. What's the kids' responsibilities now? Sell the vegetables. Okay. Even when my oldest, who is very good with finances, very good, Chelsea has a business brain. She's just incredible, and bought her first house at 21, and she's just incredible. I started Chelsea on eBay at the age of 5. She was my first, and I started her at the age of 5. She had her own eBay. And so teaching them a skill set so that they don't have to rely on others, they rely on themselves so that they can thrive no matter what is going on. That's huge. So we have to change what we think about money, which when we change what we think about money, that changes our actions towards money. So for example, people ask me all the time, what does your budget look like? Okay, so a lot of people out there probably have a budget. It's all written down. It's in an Excel sheet. I have never, ever had a budget. You know what my budget is? If I can't afford it, I don't buy it. That's my budget. Guess what? I've never had a problem with a budget. So do you see what I did? Most people go, well, I got a credit card. I got $10,000 on this credit card. I got money. No, you don't. So you have to change that to, if I can't afford it, I don't buy it. Change your thinking. That changes the way you act with money.
Mine has always been wait two pay periods. If I still want it and I can afford it, then I buy it.
Perfect.
Skipper, Lilu's got a good question there. There you go.
What made you think of storage units for starting YouTube?
Okay, so the YouTube process is kind of odd. Okay, so I went through a divorce, and I've spoken openly about this on the channel, and then I went and I had a relationship with somebody who I actually started the YouTube channel with, it was her idea. So she came to me and she was like, you know what, you take us camping in the camper. I was helping her raise her daughter and all of this stuff. And so she's like, you take us camping and we do all these fun things. She's like, we should get on YouTube. You can make money on YouTube. And I was like, yeah, right. You can't make any money on YouTube. And like most people, I was like, yeah, right. No way. And so I thought it was the biggest joke in the world. And I was like, that's not the way that it works. So you have to understand, when I just said we have to change our thinking, which changes our actions, when we change our thinking, it changes the way we act about things. So in the beginning, I went, yeah, right. That doesn't work that way. Boy, was I ever wrong. Boy, was I ever wrong. And so I had to change the way I thought about YouTube. So I started doing camping hacks. It all started with camping hacks because I like camping, I like nature, I like animals and all those things. And I'd always done storage units. And so it was just, I didn't understand YouTube. I didn't understand niches. And frankly, I still don't submit to a niche. My niche is just my life. And so there are many things that I do on YouTube that most professionals would tell you is not going to work. And yet it still has. For example, I do everything on a cell phone. So, and they'll tell you, no, you can't do that. I film on a cell phone, edit on a cell phone, everything is on. I'm on a cell phone right now. And so what happened is I actually did a storage unit, just normal life, and it got views. And I was like, oh, people like this? I was like, seriously? People like this? I was like, no way. You realize I had to change my whole thought process, right? I had to change the way I think, which changed the way I act. And then I went, people like this. Well, I guess I'll film more of it. So I changed the way I thought about it based on their response, and I started showing more of it because they liked it. And so it changed the way that I dealt with the channel. All the camping hacks are gone. And I think the very first video I ever did was how to raft the Mohican River in Ohio for free. And I believe I still have that one up. And I have that for individuals that are going to the Mohican River because it's been a huge help for a lot of people. But then it transitioned into how to generate income and wealth, to work for yourself and become fun employed, to equip individuals with the knowledge. But I also do it with humor. And so I love goofing around and being funny, even though I know there's no jokes here tonight. And I know that's very odd for some people. Like, we've never seen Jeremy not joke around, not one 10-year-old joke right now, or not one dad joke. But I had to transition that. And then I learned very, very quickly, there are people that will chastise me going, all Jeremy talks about is money. Well, here's the thing. They have no idea how YouTube works. They have no idea why I do what I do and how the business of YouTube works. And when I'm talking about money on YouTube, there is a complete and total rationale and reason behind it, because they don't know that the highest paying ads on YouTube are when you talk about money. Now, you could go on YouTube and cuss and smoke and drink and do all kinds of things, and you're going to get the lowest paying ads, which are Viagra and alcohol and things along those lines. Or you can actually help people and talk about building your wealth and how much things are worth, and you get the highest paying ads. So they don't understand the business of YouTube by any stretch of the imagination. They go, Jeremy's only about money. No, Jeremy is about ministry. And the way that I fund ministry and give towards ministry is through money. And I learned what YouTube is about and how to maximize money on YouTube to actually generate the most amount of money on YouTube so that I can fund it towards ministry. And the way that you do that, you talk about money. And so most people have no concept of how YouTube works, how ads work, how advertisers work, whatsoever. It is all part of a business, and YouTube is a business. The reality is, Jeremy Hales, which is weird talking about, self in third person. I'm a business. My personality is a business, and it's fleshed out over social media.
We have a question here from Joan Walton, who asks, how do you get started when you have no money? I'm on a fixed income after rent, basic expenses. I have no money. I've cut expenses and sacrificed everything I can.
So, Joan, I'm not looking at your finances, but if I were, I probably could find places to cut. I probably could find quite a few places to cut. Now, let's say I don't, though. Okay. So let's say I don't. All right. There are still tools you can use. And I mentioned one earlier. Okay. So there's this thing called a credit card, and it can be very dangerous in the hands of the wrong people. 95% of Americans, it's very dangerous in their hands. A credit card is a tool. So, for example, if I was going to start in the resale business, I would get a credit card that was solely for the resale business. Now, again, this is me, and I want to be so clear. Listen, if I give you this information, or if I tell you, well, this is what I would do, and it doesn't work for you, I want to be very clear. It's not my fault. Okay.
This is not financial advice.
Tried to teach a lot of people on YouTube, and I've been attacked because people have gone out and bought storage units, and they bought junk, and they go, it's all Jeremy Hales' fault. I lost all my money. No, that's your fault. You lost all your money. You didn't do well. You didn't purchase well. All right. So what I would do if I had no money, and if I was at a point, number one, I would never beg the government or anybody else for money. I would work. Okay. So there's the first secret to success. And I will share over and over again. The only thing that I typically do better than anybody else is I work. No matter how I feel, no matter what's going on, I work. I don't depend on anybody else except myself to work. Now, that being said, I have a great team around me. I depend on them. So, but I'm still working. Okay. All right. So if I was in that situation, I cut all expenses, there's no money at the end of the month. First of all, I'd be asking myself, how did I get myself in this situation in the first place? And there's plenty of ways that you could have gotten yours in that situation. So I'm not trying to be degrading by any stretch of the imagination. But I do know that there are credit cards, and I would get a credit card solely, and this is me, solely for resale. And the first thing I would do is I would take that credit card and I would go with my smartphone, because you can even get, I mean, come on, the government's giving you free smartphones. And I would take it to thrift stores and I would start looking at things. I mean, obviously I got time. I don't have any money, but I got time, right? So I'm going to start looking at things at a thrift store, and I'm going to do a comparison search, or what we call comps, on eBay. And I'm going to go, okay, well, they're selling this for $2, but on eBay it sells for $20. Well, if I buy that item for $2, I have no money, right? This is the same concept. Remember what affluent people do? They borrow other people's money. They don't spend their money. Affluent people use other people's money to make money. I can't stress that enough. Okay. I'm using other people's money right now for this condo. All right. Let me give you the example on a larger scale, and then we'll get back to the credit card. So what I did is I borrowed $500,000. Now I'm the one that's invested. But I took a mortgage out on one of my properties for $500,000 to buy these condos. But what I did beforehand is I looked at the P&Ls, and I looked at how much income was coming in. And I looked at her income versus expenses, and she had two. And I went, you know what? I know I can blow that out of the water, and these will pay for themselves in under 3 years, and I will end up pocketing money, and I'm borrowing somebody else's money to do it. And my first month, I don't mind sharing with you that my mortgage on these condos is $4,712 and some odd cents. In my first month in these condos, you think I've made less, the exact amount, or more than my mortgage?
Less the first month.
Okay. Who?
I'd say about the same. But then
All
again,
right, Georgie?
you walked into already booked, a turnkey business. So,
okay, Georgie?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is I remember you stating in your video you already had bookings. You were fully booked up for several months. So I'm thinking about the same that they were already making.
Now I'm going to tell you, okay? I've made way more than the mortgage the first month. All right? So I borrowed other people's money. It paid the mortgage because I'm offering a service. This is we make money two ways, a product or a service. I'm offering a service, Airbnb. And now at the end of the first month, not only did I borrow other people's money and I used my own capital, my own property as capital, but I'm now taking money and putting it in my pocket. And now I can invest that into something else. All right. Same concept with the credit card on a smaller scale. I take that credit card into Goodwill. I find an item for $2. I buy that item. I immediately list it. Immediately. And this is a key. You have to immediately list it on eBay. It sells for $20. Credit card has a 30-day billing cycle, right? It sells for $20. Now the credit card comes and it says, hey, you owe us $2. And, it just so happens we're going to give you 2% cash back on that as well. So what do? Leave it on there or you pay it off? You pay it off. You understand you just had a month to generate money with other people's money using the credit card. If you pay it off, you do not pay interest. You never, ever pay interest on a credit card. So you go and you pay it off. Now you have $18 to reinvest to do it again. And then it goes to $80. And then it goes to $800. Then it goes to $8,000. And it keeps growing and growing and growing.
Well, Joan here, she did give some clarifying information. She's a disabled veteran, no credit cards, was taught by grandparents, cash in the barrel. And I think I might be able to help you here, Joan. Jeremy has been saying real estate. You, as a disabled veteran, have the VA home loan. You don't have to put any money down and you can get a home, a mortgage. It has to be your primary residence for 6 months. But if you buy a multi-unit thing, you can rent out the rest and make your money.
Okay. Did you hear what Skipper just said, Joan? Multi-unit. Okay. So what he just told you is one of the smartest investments you can make in real estate beginning. You buy a duplex, you're borrowing other people's money for it. And he just told you how. You charge rent for the other side. That rent pays the mortgage. And most times you're also going to have cash to put in your pocket. And then you can invest that in other ways. And so real estate is the greatest investment you can make in the United States. The government gives you more tax breaks for real estate than any other investment. And so you cannot go wrong with real estate.
Question. Your eBay stuff. You're the guru on eBay. Do you just have one account or do you spread it over multiple accounts?
So we used to have 2 accounts, and frankly, we're pulling away from eBay almost completely. There's probably just, I know we've had thousands of items for sale on eBay, which, we've shared that with our community as well. And again, that's part of building a community base. But we are moving stuff so fast on Whatnot, and we like moving it fast. So I share with the team all the time. By the way, and I'll share this openly as well. I mean, when I hired Christian and Patience, I told them this is your salary and you must sell on eBay. And same with Deanna. There's Madam Mayor's Adventures. Brett, I actually asked Skipper to bring you on to talk about business with me as well, but maybe another day. And so with eBay, I've told the employees that currently work for me in the resale business, I shared with them, I said, I don't really care how much money we make on eBay. You need to make enough money to actually pay your own salary. If you can't pay your own salary, I can't keep you on. And so I was very, very bold with them to say, I can't keep you. Now, there were times where they did, last year, if I remember correctly, they were 16,000 away under from paying their own salaries on eBay sales. And so, and I think most people know that I give a salary, housing, I try and take care of everything that I can for my employees. And so I don't want them to worry about paying a mortgage. Where's my next meal going to come from? I want them to worry about how can we build this business? And so it's just something that I've done with a small little business, and I want to continue to invest in real estate anyway. And so last year, I believe we were 16,000 under. Now, what this team has done, okay, Christian, Patience, George, Deanna, what this team has done last year, where it was a failed business, the expenses of having them, and I told them point blank, if we don't generate enough money, I can't keep you on. I'll have to let you go. I did not let them go. Smart on my part, that I haven't let them go, that they've stuck with me and I've stuck with them. And in many ways, maybe I should say they're stuck with me and I'm stuck with them. But they took the previous year failed eBay business because I lost 16,000, didn't pay for their salaries, to now they transitioned to a live auction in the aspect of I have built in incentives for them and bonuses. And in the past 5 months, we're on month number 6 right now. So if they reach certain plateaus, so if we reach a certain level of sales, they get a $1,000 bonus. They reach another level of sales, they get a $1,500 bonus. They reach another level of sales, they get a $2,500 bonus. Okay. In the past 5 months, they transitioned a failed eBay business into, literally in the past 5 months, we're a startup online auctions. They have all received $2,500 every single month as a bonus because they have hit those sale goals every single time. They took a dead eBay business and turned it into a thriving online auction business. I'm very proud of what they've done. Very proud.
That's a really smart thing because, with me and my business partner has a degree in business. And one thing he told me, chase the money, not the dream. Everyone has their dream to have a family-owned business, and then they sink money into it, and it's failing and failing, and then they end up broke. He goes, if you just keep chasing the money, it'll come eventually. You'll eventually find it, but just keep chasing the money is what he's taught me.
And could you imagine if I would have been so dumb to tell them all, sorry, you know what, we didn't make it this year on eBay, I'm letting you all go. But what we did, you remember what I said earlier? We have to change the way we think, which changes the way we act. And we had to really evaluate eBay after this past year and go, is this still effective, or has the paradigm shifted? And it was beyond evident the paradigm had shifted, and we needed to take those measures, which I've been talking for years that I wanted to be a licensed auctioneer. And so there are 3 things that I've said on eBay very clearly. I wanted to become a licensed auctioneer. I really state my goals and I run for them. I wanted to have B&Bs. So now I've got 2 Airbnbs. I'm looking at 2 more here on the Gulf. And then I want to have a pizza restaurant. By the way, when we're talking about profit margin in regards to restaurants, pizza is the highest profit margin in food service. And I want to have a build your own pizza restaurant. So that's the one dream I haven't accomplished yet. And I believe where Hale's headquarters is, where over 8,000 guests a year or excuse me, 8,000 guests a day come to the national park. I think a build your own pizza business would be incredible in Ohio. So I'm not there yet. I don't know if Mayor Dan's in the chat or not, but Mayor Dan knows what I want to do in the town, the village, and I want to cater to those tourists coming in. So I do believe it will happen, but not right now. But how foolish would I have been to let the employees go and go, sorry, we didn't make it. What we did instead is we sat down and we talked, and it wasn't easy. Like, they were scared. I was scared. There was so many uncertainties. We've never done this before. How much time is it going to take? Jeremy, I am not a micromanager. I literally will tell you, go do this, and it better get done. All right. I mean, obviously, I'm away from my employees in Ohio for 6 months. I'm away from employees in Florida for 6 months. I mean, how can you micromanage? You can't. And so we sat down and we evaluated the direction we were going to go, and we changed our whole thought process on the resale. And we went, we're doing it. We're making this change. And man, what a positive change. It was not easy for everybody, but everybody at the same time said, it's not easy, but we're going to do it. And it's been a wild ride so far, and it's been a ton of fun.
How
That's
often do
one of the
people?
things I
Oh, go ahead.
admire. I've been following you for a while, and the fact that you transitioned from eBay to whatnot, and you talk about your community, which is completely awesome. You took your community from YouTube, and a big percentage of them followed you to whatnot. I admire that 100%, because you created a new business off of what you already had. And it's been, I watch all the time, and it's been running very well. I don't think I've ever seen you guys not sell something you put up on the screen. So
There are things that don't sell.
well,
But
I got you, but yeah, but they were bid on. They just, okay. But I admire the way you transitioned. And when you talk about community, that's a perfect, you built your community on YouTube, and you took it and transitioned it over to Whatnot. And that they gave your community the option to buy directly from you instead of going and hunting for it on eBay. Now you put a face to that product. And that's one
right
of the
there.
things I think anyone can do. You got, like you said, you got to build that community.
Yeah, the community is huge in regards to that, and the team was so responsive. And again, I'll be point blank with you. It wasn't easy transition for any of us, but everybody said, we're going to do it and we're going to make it successful. Our biggest fear, and we communicated this with Whatnot over and over again. How do we communicate, or how do we transition an older generation from YouTube? They know how to get on in YouTube and chat, and how do we transition them to Whatnot, to a whole brand new app that they've never even experienced before? And that was by far our biggest fear. And Whatnot, their employees are very young, and vast majority of our followers are up in years, as are we. So it makes sense. We are as well. And so that was a fear of, can we transition everybody well? And while everybody didn't transition with us, the team has just done a phenomenal job with the community. And I can't even stress how important this transition was with the lost income from defamation and tortious interference with the business. And so I have lost so much on the other business, being that this is the online auctions are actually supplementing that loss right now. Not that people aren't attacking that as well. As a matter of fact, I mean, we all know that, even a lawyer in Massachusetts has attempted to destroy that for me. And so that now has supplemented. Now what we have to, so it's a huge loss. Now it's supplementing what it was. Now we've got to grow it up. And the other aspect is the B&Bs for the community as well. And there's going to be a treasure hunt, which obviously that's what I'm passionate about. I love the treasure hunt. I love, finding all those things, and people will actually get to follow in the footsteps of what I've had to live through in this county, but they get to do it from the safety of Cedar Key and the beauty of Cedar Key. And so I firmly believe that this is going to be another successful business, and in its first month it already is, but we haven't unleashed it to the actual followers yet, but we will soon.
So you're going to do like your own little like geocache?
Yes. Yep.
Very nice.
Yep.
Georgie, do you have any questions?
I'm sitting here like a sponge, just soaking in everything he's teaching us. So, no, not right
I have
now.
a question. How often do people try to rip you off?
Every day. I mean, come on, man. Wherever there's money, there's a scam. Wherever there's money, there's somebody trying to scam. And frankly, it gets old. But you have to remember, that's not a you issue, that's a them issue. And so they have the heart issue. That's why I try and share with people is, just because they're doing wrong, don't let that sour you. And it does. I get that. It causes resentment, bitterness. I mean, you see it in my own life, frustration, anger. I don't hide my emotions online. I don't. You see me, who I am, and I think it's important at the end of the day that we don't allow that to change who we are. Though it's okay to be mad and frustrated in the moment when it happened, but don't let that change your heart and who you are and what you're about. Unless you're an ugly, horrible person, then please change. But
yes,
don't let it harden your heart. Wherever there's money, there's going to be a scam. There's going to be somebody trying to steal from you, and it's constant. I mean, I could tell you today there's been 50 phishing emails just trying to get access to my accounts. Okay, so every day I open email is a danger of somebody trying to steal from me. Every day, just emails. Now, personal interactions, that's nonstop as well. People showing up at my properties. I think you guys know, I think the planet knows, I've spent $25,000 just putting up gates and fences to keep people off of my properties to come. And really what it was doing is people are just showing up and begging, and it's not okay. It's not okay. There's an appropriateness and an appropriate time for everything, and we need security in our lives too. So don't let it discourage you. I have been stolen from by people who didn't know me at all. I've been stolen from by people who knew me dearly and close. And I'll give you an example. During my worst time, during my divorce, and it was complete and total hell, and I don't wish divorce on anybody. One of my closest friends that I worked with in ministry messaged me and said, I can't pay my bills, and I need help. Can you please help me? I'll pay you back after I get my tax return. Now, you have to understand, I was going through a divorce where the judge, and this is standard in Ohio, you get a restraining order, and it's not in proximity of people like I have on individuals in Levy County and Otter Creek. It's based on possessions and money. So the restraining order says you can't spend any money, you can't sell anything, you can't do anything without the other person's approval. And I gave this individual $1,500 that I really didn't even have, but I had it in cash, and then I went to Walmart and sent it to that individual because they had kids, and that's who I am. And then tax return came the next month in April, and I said, okay, can you pay me back now? I really need this for my lawyer. And guess what I got? An excuse. And then the next month I got another excuse. A year later, it was still excuses. Years later, it's still excuses, to the point where I got scammed by somebody that I completely and totally trusted. And so it happens all the time, but you can't let that change who you are. You can't let that change your personality, your heart. You got to keep just pushing forward and go, you know what? That's a them issue. That person that scammed me for that money during the worst time of my life, that was their issue, not mine. I wanted to help. I wanted to be a help, but they stole from me, and that's their problem.
All right, Jeremy. So, online auctions versus in person. COVID hurt a lot of the online, or a lot of the in-person auctions. So which do you prefer, the online or the actual physical in-person auctions?
Well, if I'm buying, I want in person. If I'm selling, I want online. Okay. So if I'm a buyer, what online auctions has done is anybody at home in their underwear can bid at any moment in time with their credit card, right? You don't even know. Am I wearing pants right now?
Right on.
See what I'm saying? So I could be bidding on an auction right now from the comfort of my home in my underwear with a credit card. And when I have that power of a credit card, boy, it emboldens me. It goes, well, I'll bid this much. Well, I got this much credit line. I'll go even more and more and more. So if I'm buying, I want in person, because when I'm buying, in person means cash, and it's the cash that you have on hand. There is a danger with that. There have been times where I have massive amounts of, we'll just say there's cash, okay?
Right.
Because if there's a good unit, I'm going to pay for it. And so I have safes in my vehicles, and I have firearms in my vehicles. And so if anything were to ever happen, I feel comfortable and safe as well. But if I'm selling online, because I can sell to the world, and we're shipping all over the world. As a matter of fact, I think we're coming up in 5 months, almost 25,000 items sold between Ohio and Florida in 5. It's nonstop. We're selling, we're shipping. So what I tell the team, I was like, here's your new job description. You show, you sell, you ship. You sow, you shell, you ship. You show, you sell, you ship. That's their new job description, the 3 S's. And so we're shipping all over the world. As a matter of fact, we're giving away $1,500 this Sunday, which is going to be a ton of fun. And the reason why we can do that is because we have such an incredible community, and is so supportive, and we just have a ton of fun with them. So auctions to sell, I want it online. I can reach more people with more community. If I'm buying, I want to be in person because there's less people and it's cash, and most people don't have that amount of cash, and I can beat them in an actual bid.
So now your whatnot. I know you're doing awesome with the auction part of it. How is your buy it now doing? Is that doing very well? As good as the obviously the auctions are going to be going like crazy, but does your buy it now do as good? I mean, not as good, but is it
Yeah.
generating income?
So the answer is yes, but I think you know, if you are 100% solely only looking at figures every day and you're not having fun, what's the point?
Exactly.
Right? Okay. So what has happened with our buy it now items, we are having so much fun making fun of
I got
fools.
you.
Okay. All right. And so those who know what's going on in my life and the horrific things in court and the horrific things these people have done to me, said about me, which are all untrue. And that's why it's in court. It's defamation. And for us to be able to go, you know how we're going to handle this? We're not going to get mad, even though we are mad. And we're not going to cry about it, even though there are times where there have been tears shed.
Turn it around.
We're going to make fun of them.
Turn
And
it around.
we're gonna laugh at it, and we're gonna laugh at them because they are so foolish. And so the ability to use the buy it now to make hilarious jokes at the people who are literally trying to destroy my life, literally trying to destroy my income, my relationships, my life, and then to go, ha ha. By the way, people are funding this because of the foolishness you've done to me, and we're having a ton of fun, and there's going to be a whole lot more. I tell you, there's a great one coming up that we haven't revealed yet. There is the first What the Hales book coming out. We've already announced that, but somebody was denied twice within 10 minutes today in federal court. And there is a great one coming up for that in the buy it now. And so we have used the buy it now for laughs and fun. And I think there should be fun in your business, because if you're not having fun, what business do you have in business in the first place?
So that's all you have on your bot now, are your what I call gag gifts? I mean, are you selling?
No, there's other things as well, because we wanna, you know, not everybody has my sense of humor. And if you don't know me personally, my sense of humor is huge. Okay, huge. Like, I am serious 99.999% of the time. And that was a joke. Okay. I'm almost never serious. I love to laugh and joke around and have fun. And so I love humor. But not everybody gets my humor. Especially, I find that UK viewers, they don't understand. They have more of a dry sense of humor, and so UK viewers don't understand my American humor at all. And I love the jokes, and I love, you know, the fun. So we have something, I would say, for everybody. So, for example, if we have hey bubbles blow me, and you know, it's a thing of bubbles and you blow the bubbles and it's got a huge nose, or connect the dots, Connecticut the dots, and it's an activity book and there's this huge nose, and or if it's a blue bucket with turds in it and Tootsie Rolls, you know, those are jokes and they're funny. They are funny. But there are other people, for example, we have What the Hale Silver and Gold. They're silver and gold. You can buy COA What the Hales Silver and Gold. There is, I mean, there's so many different things. Obviously, I like toys. I think most people know that I really, really enjoy toys. You know, some people like clothing. I really like, you know, toys growing up as a kid. So there's a lot of cool toys in there that are brand new. We try and offer anything we can to really to everybody. So both are working really well, the buy it now and the auctions.
So this is another viewer question. How should a person invest a sudden windfall of a great amount, in your opinion?
I don't think you should be asking Jeremy Hales. I don't think you should be asking me. Okay. Now, if you were to ask me and you were close in my inner circle, which is very, very small, very, very small. And by the way, as you accumulate wealth and you grow your business, there are, as Skipper has already mentioned, that how many people try and steal from you. You learn really quick that your circle has to get very small of who you can trust, and so I'm glad to have faithful friends. I'm saddened that there are other individuals that have proven not to be faithful, and but that circle is very small, and I would not be announcing it. I mean, the reality is this: if it was not for YouTube, okay, and for what people think I'm worth or what people think I have, I would not even be on this live stream right now, right? Okay. So if you didn't know me from YouTube, number one, you would never hear me talking about money, because I only talk about money with those who are closest to me and my business buddies and friends and family. But a normal person, I wouldn't talk money. So first thing I would do is don't tell anybody except somebody you can absolutely trust. Okay. Because the people start coming out of the woodwork trying to get a portion of it. Now, the second thing I would do is go talk to somebody who actually manages money. And while I manage my own money, even I have a certified public accountant. So I have a CPA, because there are things they know, tax law things they can do that are, this is the other thing affluent people do. Okay. They limit liability. So they use other people's money, and affluent people limit liability. And so when I hire a CPA to take care of everything, who's the liability fall on if something's wrong, me or him? And the answer is I transfer liability to the CPA. Okay, so he does all my taxes, and I think we've all probably heard, oh, we're gonna report Jeremy. Yeah, have fun with that. I have a CPA who deals with literally every penny is accounted for. Every penny is accounted for. Okay, and so. And not only that, I'm in the highest tax bracket. So I get audited every year anyway. So when you're in the highest tax bracket, the IRS audits you automatically. So have fun with that. Okay. So you limit your liability. Okay. So if it were me that I came into a windfall of money, the very first thing I would do, and I'm sure you guys could probably, let's ask the panel, what would I do if I came into a windfall of money? What would I invest in? Skipper.
I think more real estate.
Okay, Mr. Coop.
Same thing. Real estate, safe bet.
Georgie.
Real estate or your pizza restaurant?
Okay. All right, probably real estate first, but I really do want to do the pizza restaurant. So again, it's real estate. So the very first thing I would do, I would not look at individual family living homes. I would look at multifamily. So 4, 8, 10, 12. The more units you have, the more income you have. And if you lose one, so let's say you invest in a home, and your tenant gets a new job and they're moving out of state. Well, now you're not generating any income to pay for that mortgage, but maybe you paid it outright, and that's fine too. But if you have multi-living units, family units, you have multi streams of income. If you lose one, the others pick up on that, and then you can fill that in again. So again, the government gives the best tax advantages on real estate. And you're not going to find a better investment. It's not in the stock market. It's real estate. The government is giving you every incentive to buy real estate. And here's another thing that we haven't talked about yet. The government gives the greatest tax benefits and incentives to business owners. They want you to generate business. They want you to generate jobs. This keeps the economy strong. It's capitalism, which I know some people right now are going, that's a bad word. No, it's not a bad word. It is the foundation of what our country actually thrives on. Yep. And so if you think it's a bad word, you need to change your thinking, which changes your action on what you do with money. So I would invest in real estate, but probably don't ask me. You probably got to find somebody closer that you can actually trust and rely on.
We got a super chat here from Zohan. Is gold better for asset protection or investing?
Well, are you really ever going to go wrong with buying gold? Right? Okay. So you're not going to go wrong with buying gold. But here's the question. You buy gold, who are you going to sell it to? Somebody else that wants to buy gold? I mean, okay, so you've seen me selling some of my gold on Whatnot. You've seen me selling some of my silver on Whatnot, large quantities of it. And so if you have a buying base for it when needed, that's great. But what you're looking for, okay, if you're investing, you're looking for a ROI. And so ROI, for those that don't understand that acronym, it's not a polyflop, that's for sure. It's an ROI, a return on investment. Okay. So if I buy gold, and I think gold just went down yesterday by $14, I think, if I remember correctly. So if I buy gold, let's say I buy an ounce of gold when it was at $2,500, and then it goes up to $3,000, which is, I mean, gold's always, everything fluctuates, right? Well, I sell it at $3,000. What's my ROI? What's my return on investment? Okay, but I already know in the resale business is one of the biggest ROI, return on investments, that I can make. It's the same as when I said with a pizza restaurant in the fast food service industry, in this food service industry, the biggest ROI, you've got very limited expenses in ingredients, but you can sell that pizza for a lot of money and you get a huge profit margin. ROI, return on investment. So if I buy a storage unit and I buy gold, which one's going to give me a bigger ROI, return on investment? I can already tell you it's going to be the storage unit. Now, it's not bad to diversify and invest in some gold and invest in some silver and invest in the stock market, invest in real estate. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, because if it all of a sudden the bottom falls out, you got nothing but broken eggs. So you gotta kind of figure that one out for yourself. Oh, there we go. Gold to go.
I'm putting this up because I took this when I lived in Abu Dhabi, and I was there for over a year, and this was a commonplace thing. As I've told people who watch my show, I'm going in April. Looks like I'm going back to the Middle East. I'm going to be hitting up these machines because when you're overseas, you don't pay taxes on, I
Yep.
believe it's $10,000 of goods. So I'm going to be buying a lot of gold when I go overseas. But you got to have a plan, I think, is the big thing.
Well, and what the skipper just said is, he said you don't pay taxes. So the one question that said, well, I just got a huge influx of money, where should I invest? That's the benefit of talking to somebody. So for example, for my CPA will say, hey, Jeremy, I'm setting you up this retirement account, and the retirement account invests in funds in the stock market. And I go, well, I don't like the returns on the stock market. And I'm very bold with him. I pay him. I'm going to tell him exactly what I think. And he goes, yeah, but this way you can invest $57,000 a year and it's tax free. And he goes, you're winning because it's tax free. Now your income goes down. You didn't pay taxes on that. Your income goes down. You're paying less taxes. He goes, you're winning here, 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 and here. And I go, okay, that's another thing for the portfolio. So for me, I invest $57,000 a year in a retirement account. And honestly, the funds that he has me investing in, one year I'm losing money. This year I actually made money. So from my initial investments, like last year, I was way under, but this year I'm above, and it fluctuates. But you have to remember, you're in it for the long haul. And so you have to understand where your tax breaks are. And your CPA or your investment consultant is going to be able to guide you through that a whole lot better. And there are a lot of people that would love to help you invest your money, but remember, they're taking a percentage of it. So what I do is I focus on my CPA, because he gets a flat fee no matter what happens. And so my CPA he's flat fee per contract. And no matter if I make a ton of money or I make very little money, he still gets the same rate no matter what. And so he's not out to get my money. He's just out to get paid.
Right.
Here's a question from JMDG. Do you have a management company to help manage your properties? What we would need to do that to be able to rent our house out?
So there are many management companies, and you can find one almost anywhere that you live. Typically, what they will do is they'll take 10% of your rentals. And so let's say you're gonna rent out your home for $1,000 a month. So over the year, you're gonna make $12,000. They're gonna take 10%, and they're gonna take $1,200. So what are they getting for $1,200? Okay, they're marketing, they're putting a sign up saying, hey, for rent, they're drafting a lease. These are all things that you can very easily do. As a matter of fact, Christian and Patience, all these things I'm sharing with you, I share with Christian and Patience, Deanna, George, all the time. Okay, especially Christian and Patience because they're so young and they want to become tenants right now, so they're looking to invest in rental property, and so I'm helping them and guiding them through that. And the thing that I keep telling them is, don't pay anybody to manage. I will give you every document you need that I already have. I mean, you can find samples all over the internet, so it's not very hard. What I do with my rentals is I do an application fee. So here's step one of renting out your property and how to get the right tenant. Okay, so there's an application fee. I have $50 application fee. I tell them it's $50 for a background check. If you have any felonies in your background check or any other issues, you will automatically be disqualified, and I will be keeping your $50. And then I go, do you still want to give me $50? And guess what happens? If you've had any felonies, you've had any evictions, you cannot rent from me. And you're giving me $50 to run a background check. Guess what happens? They go, nope, I'm out. Or those who are clean, they go, here's my $50. Now, let me ask a very simple question. Do I have to run that background check when they give me that $50? Why not?
Because
they already answered it.
Yeah.
They gave me $50.
Yep.
Nobody's just going to hand over $50 when they know I'm going to find they have evictions and felonies in their background. So do you understand that that's step one? Okay. And you may be going, Jeremy, you mean you didn't run a background check? Yeah, I did. They told me I did. It's an application fee. So I tell them their application fee is to run a background check. And it is. I just ran the background check. They gave me $50. I know they have a clean background. Okay. And so that's the beginning of it. So that filters all the garbage out. Then you get them, you fill out the application, then you get a lease. And I don't really have any problems with tenants. I've been very, very fortunate. And I've been a landlord since the age of 20. I'm 47 now.
There you go, boys and girls. So when are you going to make your first coin?
They are actually being made. They're being made right now.
Silver, gold.
I think you were joking. You were joking, but they're being made for the treasure hunt for the B&Bs.
I know you love your gold and silver. I see all these fabulous coins that you put up on the screen, and I was just wondering, man, when is Jeremy going to make his own coin?
They are actually what the Hales coins are in the process right now: gold, silver, and copper, and they are part of the treasure hunt for the B&B Airbnb experience.
Like your own.
Yeah, there you go. Tube Town, baby.
Yep. Travis gave that to me when we were up there in Otter Creek for the Railroad Festival. It's I thought it was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I'm wondering for the what the hell's coin. I'm waiting on that one.
They're coming.
Brett says, Jeremy, talk about passive income.
Yep.
All right. So everybody's goal should be able, which Brett did an incredible job at this, by the way. So everybody's goal should be passive income. And what I mean by that is you should make your money work for you, not you work for money. Okay. And that's different for everybody what the amounts are. But anytime you don't have to work to actually make the money, that's passive. So typically what that means is rentals. Okay. So let's say I have Airbnbs. Is that passive income? The answer is yes. Yep. People are coming in and they are renting from me. I'm a landlord. They're renting from me. There's very few things I have to do. And part of my business plan, I don't do low-income housing. I refuse to do low-income housing. And I know this is going to upset people. and they're going to go, Jeremy's this and Jeremy's that. Listen, you do low income housing, guess what you get? Low income problems. And that is not what I deal with in my life. I don't want it in my life. I'm not going to deal with it in my life. My goal is to find homes that are within a mile from educational institutions, colleges, and doctors and hospitals. Guess who I get as tenants? Doctors, nurses, teachers, professors, and they have families and they're stable, which means I have to do almost nothing. I rent to them and I just get a check every month. That's passive income. So a car wash would be passive income. Rental DVDs, that's passive income. You buy a stump grinder, but then you rent it out to people. That's passive income.
Writing a book.
So writing a book is passive income. And whether you realize it or not, which most people probably don't realize this, YouTube is passive income. So I have over 2,000 videos on YouTube. 2,000 videos, which is really mind-blowing to really think about it. And if I stopped today, which I have no doubt I will be stopping soon, I have no doubt the day is coming where I have had enough and I'm done. And frankly, the day is probably already passed where I've had enough and I'm done, unless something reignites in me and goes, oh yeah, I want to be stalked again. Oh yeah, I want to be defamed again. Oh yeah, I want to be messed around with again. Yeah. So there is a day, and I've jokingly said once I get to 1 million subs, then I'm going to retire. But frankly, it may even happen after that. But YouTube is passive income, and so once a video is created, it's not passive to create that video. That's work. But then that video goes out, and advertisers pay to advertise on that video, which is why I talk about money. So the team will tell you, oh, what are some of Jeremy's cliche sayings? This is worth hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. I mean, we could all go through them all. This is worth hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. This was a millionaire. You know what? I'm in another millionaire unit right now that I bought in Orlando. You hear me talking about millionaires. You hear me talking about tens of thousands of dollars. This is all strategic because advertisers, the top paying advertisers, latch on to that verbiage in the video. And that video then keeps playing. And guess what happens? It's passive income. I could stop YouTube right now, never do another video, and it's gonna. You know what? I'll share this openly because my oldest is the executor of my trust for my kids and my estate, and I've shared with her very openly. I've told her, I was like, these are where all the videos are. This is the greatest amount of money that I am leaving to you, to your brother and sister. Once I'm gone, I give you permission to sell my story, to sell my video. You can do whatever you want with it. This will take care of you for the rest of your life. And so the funny thing is people don't even realize that even YouTube is passive income, and it's passive income. It takes work to establish it. So even while I'm at the condo tonight and I'm hanging pictures and I'm putting up decorations and things like that, the reality is I bought it turnkey. I didn't have to do anything. I bought it turnkey, and it immediately is passive income. And I already shared with you in the first month, it's paid the mortgage and put money in my pocket. And so it's passive income. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to be here. I'm choosing to be here to actually make money. And your goal is, it's just like Monopoly, guys. Monopoly is the greatest financial stewardship training guide you can ever have in your life. Your goal is to buy a house, buy another house, buy another house, buy another house, buy a hotel, then buy a hotel, buy a hotel, own it all, and everybody who stays there and lands on it has to pay you money. That's passive income. So take your money and make it work for you instead of you working for your money. My goal is I want to travel the world. There are things that I have on my list that I want to do. I want to go see the great redwoods. I've never seen them. I want to go on a cruise and go see the whales in Alaska. I've never seen that. I want to go snorkel the Great Barrier Reef. I've never done that. I want to go to New Zealand and I want to see Hobbiton because I'm a Lord of the Rings. I never read the books, but I love the movies. I want to go work on experiences. I've worked so hard in my life to be where I'm at. Now I want to work at playing and experiencing life because of how hard I worked. And the passive income, the rentals, I'm a landlord. I've been since the age of 20. The rentals continue to pay me. The rentals, the passive income, which now allows me to go out and travel, which the best example of this is look at Madame Mayer's Adventures. Look at Therese and Brett. Look at Brett and Therese. They had a campground and they worked it, and they had people coming in and paying them to be there. Then they flipped it and they sold it. They were being paid. And now what are they doing? They're out living their best life. That's the American dream, passive income. And you can see them doing it. They're ahead of me. They're a tad bit older than me. They're ahead of me in the American dream. They're living their best life and having fun doing it. And that's what we all, I feel like that's what we all want to do.
What you got over there, Skipper?
Well, I'm looking at the time. We're starting to get late, but we do have a couple questions still, so we'll just try to go until we can. Other than delegating to employees, how does Jeremy manage his time with 5 to 6 income streams?
Oh, okay. To answer this question, I first have to share with you that I've studied a lot of things, and even in hiring, I've always looked for certain personalities. So if I were to say accountant, what's your first thing that you think of when you think of an accountant? Very rigid, very rigid. There is no gray area. It's this. It has to be exactly this. Accountants are typically extremely rigid. Everything has to have its place. Everything has to be this specific way. Everything, and it can't be any other way, right? Now, if I have a position and I need that type of personality in that position, that's the person I want. That's not my personality. My personality, as I've looked at so many personalities, I don't know why God wired me this way, but I have something of everything in me. And I typically am extremely adaptable. Now, I also have a drive that most people probably don't have. So when you guys, and I'm saying in general, not exactly, Skipper, Coop, Georgie, to the chat, I'm just saying most people think this way, okay? They think 9 to 5, working 9 to 5, bah, bah, bah. I don't think that way at all. As a matter of fact, there's my Gina. As a matter of fact, one of the greatest things that I learned in hiring people, if people worked in a small family business, a farm, they understood if the family didn't work and contribute at all hours at any given time, they didn't eat. And so I found the best hirees were those that grew up on a farm or in a small family business, because there is nothing about a 9 to 5. Do you understand? 50 years ago, 75 years ago, we weren't in this industrial age where everything's commercialized. We all lived on a farm. We all worked to eat, and we were all in it together from sun up to sundown. Okay. So I have this very unique personality that's very adaptable. And at the same time, it's very driven to where I have not paid for TV. I've never paid for cable. Actually, I have cable now. This is the first time I've ever paid for cable, and the HOA actually offers it, but I got to pay HOA fees. So I've never paid for cable. I've never paid for dish. I've never paid for TV. I have not watched TV unless I'm in a hotel room traveling in the past 25 plus years. Okay. Now I do have a Netflix account, and I'll put that on in the background from the moment I wake up. And from the moment I wake up in the morning, it's usually 2.5 to 3 hours. And I usually get up when the sun's up, no matter what. I'm working social media. And then I shower. And then I do the other jobs that need to be done, and office work and paying bills. And then I'm doing everything else. But the way that you manage it, and I'm not a micromanager, is you find good people. So this is always your goal when you're hiring people. Okay. I'm very strong. I'm very strong in forecasting the future and forecasting a vision of where we're going. Okay. I'm very strong at putting it into action and making it happen. But I have other weaknesses. To the point of there's sometimes I'm so weak when I'm so driven and putting it into action right here that I steamroll people, and I love people, the right people, but I need somebody who's a people person to come in and fill that gap for me and help bring the other people along. So you see what I'm saying? I'm strong in some areas and I'm weak in some areas, and I want to hire the people that are strong where I'm weak, which makes us a cohesive whole. And so the way that I end up doing that is, number one, I hire the right people that are strong where I'm weak. Number two, I transfer liability, as I've already shared with, for example, my CPA. I mean, you do it already probably with your insurance, your home insurance, with your car insurance. You're transferring liability. And so you find those third parties that can help you throughout that process. And then you find your groove. Okay, so everything has a natural life cycle. It's difficult at first, but then you find the rhythm, you find the groove, and you keep moving forward. And so I'm definitely in a groove. And adding the Airbnbs has been unusual. It throws me off my groove a little bit. So I had to create a fake number, which isn't a fake number. I had to create a Google Voice number, and I learned that from my buddy Roy from Avery's All In on YouTube, because he's an auctioneer and he has an auction house as well. And I've stretched with him through all this stuff. All my closest friends, I've told them, protect your phone number, protect your address, don't ever allow you to be stalked and what's happened to me to happen to you. So one of the smartest things he did is he created a Google Voice for his auctioneer house and his business. And I went, oh, that's what I'm going to do for the Airbnb. Well, every single guest calls me for the Airbnb, and I don't answer the phone from unknown callers. And so, like, I have my other unit right now. I have somebody from the UK. It was like, international caller. Why are people calling me internationally? And then they leave a message. So you got to find the right people. You got to transfer liability as well, and the goal is to come together as a whole and create that rhythm. And once you really get into that rhythm, man, there's not much to stop you at that point. Now, don't get me wrong. People are going to try to. They're going to say horrendous things about you. They're going to try and interfere with your business. It's going to hurt. You got to keep going, though. You have to keep going. And so there are things that are going to slow you down, but you never, ever, ever stop.
Right on, right on. Lots and lots of good info here, boys and girls. Georgia, you still awake?
Of course. I watch another channel, Roman Atwood. He has multiple businesses. I'm sure you know.
He's an Ohio boy. Of course I know who he is.
Yes, he is. Yeah. And he said on his video today, if you're not having fun, the money means
I agree.
nothing.
Listen, I've had I don't mind openly sharing this with you. I've had a lot of money and have been very, very sad and not a lot of fun. And I've had absolutely no money. Like I have had no money, and I've had some of the greatest times in my life. And so, and I'll share, here's the other thing. We talked about sacrifice, right? Sacrifice is what helps us build wealth in the beginning. We have to sacrifice. When I was going through the worst time of my life, which was a horrific divorce, my ex-wife blindsided me with a divorce, and I had just bought a rental property, and thieves came in. They stole all the copper, they stole all the water lines, the electric, everything. And the judge then put the restraining order on myself and the ex-wife to freeze our accounts. We couldn't spend any money without the other actually approving it. I had no heat, no utilities in Ohio during the winter, and I was out garbage picking on other people's garbage just to get wood to keep myself warm in the fireplace. And I told my ex-wife, I was like, take it all. I'll rebuild my life. Just take it all. I will rebuild. Now, I shared this because there are those who go, listen, you don't understand my situation. You don't know what's going on in my life. Listen, I've been at that point where I was garbage picking. I was garbage picking to get wood to put into a fireplace in the home that Christian and Patience live in right now, with baby Pepper and baby Saul on the way, which I completely remodeled. I rebuilt my life. I did not let myself stay there. And I refused to let myself stay there. And I remember saying to my ex-wife, I said, take it off. That's what makes you happy. I will be 4 times the man I ever was. And to this day, I'm well above 4 times the man I ever was. If we're talking about business, if we're talking about wealth, if we're talking about satisfaction in life, if we're talking about, close relationships, I feel way more successful today than I did at those points. And I find it humorous when people, man, Jeremy's going to lose everything, that they don't realize I was garbage picking just to stay warm. I had nothing, and I built myself back up to where I am today, which, again, I want to be so very clear. I'm nothing without my Lord and Savior. It's all his. And why he has chosen to bless me with it, I can't even begin to comprehend. But I don't want to hold that blessing back from helping others and being a blessing to others. It's God's. I'll give it back. He gave it freely to me. I will give it freely back to him to use in ministry. And that answers my why.
Got it.
And that brings me to my next question. Would you be willing to do a Bible study stream with us one night? Because I
It's a
would
very
love
good
to
question.
learn about
So,
God from you.
I have taught and I've preached all over, honestly, the world. I've been in different countries teaching and preaching, and number one, being divorced, while I love teaching and sharing God's word, I do feel like there's not a disqualification in regards to being divorced to teach others and to share others God's word and teach. But I also I hesitate in that regard because I do not want to. God's ordained 2 institutions in the Bible, okay? The first institution he ordained was the family unit, and that is man and wife. He ordained that as the family unit. The second institution he ordained, meaning that he actually said, do this. That's what ordained means. Do this. He called us to do this. Family unit is the first institution he ordained in the Bible. Second is the church. And I don't want to take away people's experience from going to church. And I don't want to be the excuse for them not going to church and gathering with other believers and getting involved in their local church, because that's community. And I know there's community online, and I know there's people that can't make it to church, but I don't want to be a reason to hold people back from going to church. And so, we can often go, and I do it too. I can go, man, you know what? I'm just going to watch church online today instead of actually going. Do you understand the power of being with believers and singing his worship and digging into his word in person, where the Spirit is alive and active? And so I'm not saying that can't happen on YouTube, but I don't want to be the thing that detracts people from that. And so, I've given that great thought, and I've done that very great thought for a long time as I've been on YouTube. And I love God and I love his word and I loved teaching it. But I don't feel like it is appropriately for me, because I want people to go to their local home church. So
Right.
Good question. That's my long answer to say no.
That's
I will
fine.
answer questions. I will answer questions about God and his word, but I don't want to take away from what God wants us to assemble together as believers.
Right.
No soup for you.
Well, we've been doing this for 2 hours, and you've been very generous with your time, and I really do appreciate it. I know there's still people with questions, but I don't want to overtake of your time. So, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you think we should touch on before we end things?
I don't know. It's your stream. You tell me.
No, I
Like,
just
is
want to
there a
make sure.
burning question you have?
I think we've hit everything very well. I have been watching people's comments. They were reacting very well to it. They really like this side of you. So I don't know if you ever want to come back or if you want to do something, um, uh, in this realm any other time. But that's all for a later date. In fact, I think something like this might be great to bring Brett Granger in, because you touched on a lot of things that he and I have spoke offline
Yeah,
about.
and I mentioned Coop in Georgia. I mentioned to the skipper, I was like, hey, let's bring my buddy Brett on as well. He's a business owner, and let's do a whole panel of business owners. And he was right. He said that's going to be overwhelming. I'm like, you're right. It is. It's going to be overwhelming. I get it. But I don't know. It would be fun to be with a whole panel of business people and because we don't all agree. And here's the crazy part. I said this earlier. There's a million ways to make $1 million, and you don't need college to do it.
Nope.
You don't need college. And I think, and our college institutions, here's something we haven't touched on. Our college institutions are putting our people in further debt, and they're in debt their entire life. And then they go to work to pay off the debt for the education for the job that can't pay all of their debt.
Yep.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And so you don't need a higher education, even though I have one, even though I was a professor as well. I was an adjunct professor. And so fully accredited master's degrees. And so you don't need a higher education to make $1 million or to be a multimillionaire or to build wealth. And you don't need, here's the craziest part. I know people who made $30,000 a year and they're multimillionaires because they decreased expenses and they invested wisely with their income. You don't need more income. You need less expenses.
I learned far more in the real world than I did the 2 years in college before I got hurt. Common sense will get you farther in life than any book will. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of books that have got smart ideas in it, but common sense and putting your values to work, I mean, learning from your experiences is far better than going and spending $200,000 to go to college, because all my friends went to college for 6-8 years. I only got 2 years. And by the time they got out of college, I was already up here where they're starting down here. And they had to learn what I had already learned as far as how to get along in the world. Make sense?
Absolutely. And, common sense isn't that common anymore.
No. No.
Well, and one thing you said, I read a book called The Millionaire Next Door. And
yes, I've read that book. It's great.
Okay. One of the things that taught me, live like no one else, so one day you can live like no one else.
Yep, absolutely. And as you stress that point, I want to be so clear with your viewers that, number one, as much as people may think the perception, I am not money hungry by any stretch of the imagination. What I am is ministry hungry. I love to fund the Lord's work. And so money to me is the means to do that, to do ministry. And that's my why. And so there are so many people that go, well, Jeremy's so money hungry. And, and the reality is I'm not. I'm experience hungry. I want life experiences. I want relationships with true good-hearted people. I want real friends that I can go to in my times of desperation and need. Those are the things that I hunger for. Those are the things I hunger for. The money is the means to give towards ministry for me. And those that are going, man, oh my goodness, I Googled Jeremy and it says, I don't even know. I don't even know what it says anymore. There's so many ridiculous Google says Jeremy's worth this many millions. Jeremy's worth this many millions. Jeremy's worth this many millions. I'll be the first to tell you, every single one of those searches and results are wrong. And I know if you try and go on Social Blade and people go, oh man, Jeremy's making this much. It is so horrifically wrong
Mm-hmm.
It's laughable. Now, I'm not telling you if it's low or high, but it is so wrong. And you know what? I'll tell you on Social Blade. I don't mind telling you. It's so ridiculously low. It's laughable. And so it is ridiculously laughable. It's so wrong. And so, you know, don't think, okay, Jeremy makes all this money. You have to understand what happens is I don't even pull a paycheck. There's not enough money at the end of the month for me to pull a paycheck. I rather have good people helping me do great things for other people, reuniting them with memories, giving them experiences in BBBs and entertainment and education on YouTube than myself pull a paycheck. You know what I have that I need? It's not the money. It's Christian. It's patience. It's Deanna. It's George. It's Baby Pep, Baby Salt coming along. I have people that I love and that love me, and that's worth more than any amount of money I could ever make.
Investing in the people in your life is always the best investment.
Absolutely.
What you cackling at there, Skipper?
He's
Oh, nothing.
cheesing from one ear to the other.
Well, because of Baby Salt coming along. That's just such great
Yeah.
news.
And he
Didn't
breaks the
didn't
news on our channels.
did not
I love
expect
it.
that, and that's just such a great thing. So everybody keep Christian and patience in your prayers because they're being very blessed right now.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Yep.
Before we wrap things up, Jeremy, would you like to plug anything?
Oh, probably my phone in to the charger. No. If I were to plug anything, I would plug the great helpers that I have. They are a blessing to me, and I think most of the viewers know what we do and where to find us. And God has blessed me tremendously. I want to continue to be a blessing to them and to the viewers as well.
Georgie, would you like to plug anything?
No, but I would like to tell Jeremy thank you for coming on and sharing your experience with us tonight.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, what she said. Right down
It
there.
was very nice
Yeah.
to meet you.
You're very welcome.
Coop, you got anything?
Same as Georgie. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge with us. I'm probably the oldest person on the panel, but I do learn, and you've said a lot of stuff tonight that's helped me, put things together in my head, and I appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
And to all of the people who gave comments and questions, thank you so much. You guys have been helping us so much with all of this stuff, and we've done fundraisers. I've sold merchandise, and it helps our foundation. You've helped individual veterans. So being able to come and do this one, and you guys all being here supporting it, means so much to me. So thank you all so very much for being here. Thank you again to Jeremy. I really do appreciate your time. I know it's very valuable to you. So the fact that you set this aside is incredibly generous. So just thank you so much.
Ton of
Yes,
fun.
it is.
I love this subject, and I love financial literacy. I love financial stewardship.
Well, I
Amen
think
to
people
that.
got something good out of it.
Well, everybody in the chat seems to think so. I mean, I've been reading them on and off all night, and everybody's been happy with everything. And I really
Couple
appreciate
people
Jeremy
seemed
coming on.
inspired.
It was awesome.
All right, everyone. So I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you again to Jeremy. Thank you for all your comments. For those of you who gave us super chats, thank you so much. Also, make sure you subscribe to What the Hales. Make sure you subscribe to the Wilburns Family Vlogs, as well as Mr. Coop. And you can always support us by going on to veteranationfoundation.com, buying a t-shirt. Some of that money comes back to our foundation so we can help veterans. And we just helped Timothy Walters the other day. He got his scooter, and now his fundraiser is going to go to a ramp for that scooter. So we're doing a lot of good work, and thank you all so much for everything you've done. That's all I have. As usual, thank you for being worth serving.